So the oil pressure gauge on these trucks are just a pressure switch. So once it achieves a certain pressure, the switch just sends power to the gauge, and it just goes to one position. That's it. So basically, there's just an on and off switch. I'll go ahead and start the truck here and show you what it's like. So right now it's in the off position, and I'll crank it over, and the oil pressure will build up, and the switch just kicked on. Just to remove these trim covers right here, I'll give you access to this bolt right here, and we'll get the other side pulled out as well. And I'll give you access to the other bolt right there. With the 7mm socket, you can go ahead and take those out. Okay. You'll need to remove the headlight switch. Just kind of pull it out like that. There we go. So now the dash bezel's all loose, so what you gotta do is wiggle it out of there, out between the steering column, and kind of pull it up as you go without trying to crack it. And then the first thing you'll have to get is the fuel switch sender. You'll have to unplug that right there. So unplug that. Alright, got that off, and we'll put that out of the way. That's disconnected from the fuel pressure switch. Sorry. Alright, we got this disconnected from the back of the fuel tank switch. Once we get that disconnected, I'll need to disconnect all my gauges. Once you disconnect the gauges, the whole bezel will come out. My gauges are disconnected now, and you'll just need to disconnect the wait to start lights connector back here. It's that one right there. I think it just unplugs. Here, 1 second. Just comes out like that, and we can set that off to the side, and the whole bezel should get out of your way. There we go. Put that off to the side for now. Alright, so now the next step is to remove the cluster. To remove the cluster, it'll be 4 7mm bolts again. One right there, one right here. Just one on each corner, basically. One right there, and one right there. Once those 4 are out, the whole cluster should pull right out, and you'll have to disconnect the 3 wires, 3 connections in the back. Remove the Alright, to remove the cluster, you want your steering column as low as you can go. Unfortunately, mine is broken, so I can't lower it. But get your steering tilted down as far as you can go, and we'll go ahead and pull out the cluster. Tilt forward like that, slide it out, sort of, kind of like that. And if I can do this with one hand, we'll disconnect the first connector out of the right side, and then one in the middle right here. Okay, that's 2. And then there's one more right here. Sorry, I was switching the camera with my hands. And just kind of squeeze the connector. Alright, disconnected all 3 connectors, and your cluster just comes out like that. And then we'll take this over to the workbench, and I'll show you what you got to do to make the oil pressure gauge work like a real oil pressure sensor. All you need is the Ford powerstroke oil pressure sender. It's a little bit bigger than the IDI's pressure switch, and that's because it reads different oil pressure, so it's a variable pressure switch instead of just a pressure switch. And then you'll just need a jumper wire about the size, maybe a little bit smaller will be okay. So those are the 2 that you'll need. Alright, this is looking back at the gauge cluster of a 7.3 IDI truck, and what you want to do is you want to look for the oil sensor. In this case it's an oil switch location right here, and you can see it's got the ignition power to it, and then the ground right here, and then the signal. So you can see this is the oil pressure signal wire right here. It's got a little I think it's called a resistor. What you need to do is jump that resistor with the little jumper wire. So what you want to do is solder from there to there. When you jump that and install the oil pressure sensor from powerstroke, the oil pressure sensor will then give a signal through that jumper wire to the gauge. So let me go ahead and solder this on and show you what it looks like. Alright, got my little jumper wire soldered on there, and it's not the prettiest, but it'll work. It'll stay on. I do recommend using fine wire because I used the thicker stuff and it was kind of stiff to bend and whatnot. So I'd use a little thinner and maybe a little bit more flexible wire, but this is just what I had in my scrap pile and it'll work just fine. Alright, let's go out to the truck and install that oil sender real quick, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, so what you want to do is disconnect your stock oil pressure switch wire off of there and take your stock oil switch out of the stock location here, and we'll install the new one. Alright, we just need to do alright, that's tight enough. There you go, there's the new oil pressure sender installed. At idle. Yeah, refocus here real quick. Alright. It works.